Please welcome to the stage, she majored in happiness in college, Kiera Peltz, founder of the Coding School.
Hi everyone, and good morning. I'm so glad to see you all up and ready to go. I just want to start and disclose, I'm really sorry we're not going to be doing any waves. I mean, you can, but I will not be instigating this. But I would like you all to take a moment and close your eyes. I want to take you back to a decade ago, to 2015. Obama was president. Jurassic World was just released. The famous dress debacle took over the internet. Was it blue and black or white and gold? You know the dress I'm talking about, and I still don't know the answer. I want you to take a moment and think about what the world would look like now if we had made high-quality AI education accessible to all K-12 students 10 years ago. If we had made sure that no student graduated from high school without having foundational knowledge on AI, data science, bias, and the ability to build traditional machine learning models, even if we knew most of them were not going to go on and become AI engineers. What would the world look like today? Would the same people be leading the charge in the AI race? Would the same AI products and tools be developed? Would ChatGPT still be released to the public in the same way? Not as a finished product for customers to use, but using customers as test cases to refine their products. I'm sure most of you have opened up your eyes by now, but if you haven't, you can. We'll never know, but I would like to imagine that the world would at least be inching closer to a safer, more just world. So why didn't we make AI a critical topic in 2015 or even before? We knew AI was a thing. We knew billions of dollars were being invested in it. Siri and Alexa were already household names, and Google's self-driving car had already taken over 1 million miles driven. So why did we wait for a product like ChatGPT to start believing that AI education is something that must be prioritized? In 2022, why didn't we make sure that all students were equipped with the skills they need to shape products like AI and ChatGPT, rather than being shaped by them? My name's Kiera Peltz, and I've spent the past decade making emerging and frontier technologies accessible to K-16 students and educators. I believe it's critical for our kids' future social mobility, economic prosperity and innovation, and our nation's national security, that no child graduates from high school without foundational knowledge in the technologies that are going to shape how they work and live. And I believe it's not just possible, but it's easier than it's been made out to be to make this happen. I want to take a few minutes to talk about some of the work we've done to train over 50,000 students and educators in emerging technologies, and then spend the rest of my time discussing critical conversations we need to have as a community to make this a reality for every student. At the Coding School, the nonprofit that I run, we're focused on creating pathways for students and the technologies that we bet on are going to change the world. We began teaching data science and artificial intelligence in 2016 to middle school and high school students, introduced computational genomics and cybersecurity in 2017, and quantum computing in 2019. We assume no prerequisites, offer a range of programs from workshops to courses to research programs to make sure that we're meeting every student where they're at. And we make sure that we're teaching students real skills that they'll be able to use in the workforce, like Python and scikit-learn and Circ. It hasn't been easy. Most people have told us that we're setting ourselves up for failure, that it couldn't possibly work. I mean, it's hard to teach PhD students quantum computing. How do you expect to teach a 10-year-old how to do that? That you couldn't teach kids who weren't STEM inclined how to build a deep learning model with TensorFlow or get rural students to code a multi-qubit circuit on a quantum computer. You can. But we're lucky to have had a few champions along the way who have helped us deliver on that mission, with the Department of Defense STEM being at the top of the list. With support from the DoD STEM National Defense Education Program, in 2021, we launched a national initiative called TRAIN to ensure in-depth AI education would be available to high school students and educators across the country. We developed a scalable 2-semester introductory AI course for high school students and partnered with over 100 high schools across the country to offer the course for high school credit. Sorry, okay. We know, I didn't even have slides until yesterday, and then I saw that last presentation, and I was like, oh, I need to get on it, so here you go. Every week, over 24 weeks, students would have a weekly lecture where they would cover the conceptual topics, a lab with a TA that would focus on programming, and a homework assignment. This culminated with a capstone project that students would work on applying what they learned in the course. Students developed knowledge and skills in data science, traditional machine learning, deep learning, and ethics. We also ran this course for over 2,000 students in a given cohort with over an 85% retention rate. And particularly because I gave a shout out to our rural students before, we believe this model of a virtual program with live instruction is really critical to making sure that we're reaching all students with these critical technologies. We also launched a 4-week professional development summer intensive for high school teachers, and it opened up to educators from all disciplines, including English and history, believing in the transformative impact AI would have on every field, not just the hard sciences. 2 years ago, we launched the National AI Research Program, where students who had taken our year-long course could work in an AI lab or conduct research supervised by industry mentors for the summer to ensure our high school students weren't just learning these critical skills, but they were actually being able to apply them in the real world. And I'll just take a quick moment before I go on to share a little story. We didn't envision when we first created these scalable courses to ever have anything come after that. We thought, you know what, this is the most advanced that any high school student can possibly learn in these emerging tech subjects, whether it's quantum or AI or data science, like this is good. But the number one anxiety we had when students left our course was not, oh man, I don't want to do anything related to tech. It was, what comes next? And we said, like, wait till you get to college. There's so much more that you can do then. But the anxiety kept on coming, and we kept on getting emails and realized that if we didn't keep students supported as they're learning something as difficult as AI or quantum computing, then we would lose them and all the hard work that we had put in to make sure that they were on this pathway. Our TRAIN initiative and our AI pathway would not have been possible without our partnership with DoD STEM, who invested in us in AI education when few others would take the chance on such an ambitious project that had not been done at the scale or depth before. And while I would talk about the importance of cross-sector collaborations later, I want to briefly mention an often underlooked but critical value that partnerships like the one with DoD STEM bring. We've been able to show students that they can use their technical skills, not just to go work at a big tech company or at a startup, but to serve their country. Whereas some students entered our program only seeing tech as a way to get rich or create the next TikTok, they'd leave our program seeing the possibilities of technology in a completely new way. They'd see tech as a force that had far more reaching consequences than they could have ever imagined before, for their communities, for our national security, and even possibly for the betterment of humanity. This AI pathway is based on a similar pathway we developed in 2020 in quantum computing for high schoolers, thanks to early support from IBM and Google. Now in our 6th year, our initial cohort of high school students who took our pilot Introduction to Quantum Computing class have started PhDs this fall. And each one has said they would have never discovered or pursued quantum computing if they hadn't been introduced to it via our course in high school. This is the power of early and accessible emerging tech education. Now, I want to take a step back and look ahead. We're at a watershed moment in education. I don't think I have to tell all of you that. The nature of work and the workforce is changing significantly, and if we want to get it right, we need to start having some critical, difficult conversations. So I want to share 5 conversations that we need to start having. I believe actually now it's 4. you're welcome, to talk about emerging technology education. One, we can't keep on playing catch up. We have to stop talking about how we can't do things and figure out how to do them, because the future is going to happen whether our students are set up to lead it or be led by it. We should have begun teaching AI long before 2022, and as a result, education is not shaping AI, but rather AI is shaping education, which is not how it should be. We must recognize that the pace of technological innovation is unprecedented, and if we're teaching students the technologies of today, we're not preparing them for the workforce of tomorrow. It makes me think a lot about when we first started teaching AI to middle school and high school students in 2016 and quantum computing in 2019. Most people, again, said, this isn't possible, you can't do this. And I think a lot about why there was so much resistance. Why not more curiosity? Even after we had the data and the success stories, we're still met so much more often with skepticism instead of excitement. We need to start looking ahead and thinking about what technologies will be transformative when students enter the workforce in 5, 10, or 20 years, and make sure that we're teaching students those skills. This also means that we need to move beyond just talking about AI as the only emerging technology that matters, but also quantum technologies like quantum sensing and quantum networking, biotechnologies, advanced manufacturing, edge computing, and many others. 2, we must start believing that every student can and should be learning real skills in emerging technologies. We, as educators, need to change the way that we think and speak about emerging tech. When I talk to school administrators or teachers about our quantum computing offerings, the first and primary thing they say is, isn't quantum computing only for geniuses? I want us just to think about that for a moment, because we all here say that STEM is for everyone, but behind closed doors, do we actually think that? Because I've found that all of our students, if you put enough time and effort and support and develop curriculum in a thoughtful manner, can truly learn quantum computing and thrive. And if I had it my way, I actually would make an Introduction to Quantum Computing course as a mandatory course that every student takes their freshman year of high school as a way to introduce them to STEM. Because of the interdisciplinary nature, you're learning mathematics, physics, engineering, programming, and so many other subjects and disciplines. And we've had a lot of students who have come out of our programs and said, yeah, I really want to do quantum computing and become a quantum engineer. But we've also had a lot of students who have said, I don't think quantum computing's for me, but wow, mathematics, I never saw math applied until seeing it in quantum. I want to do that for the rest of my life. So, as we see with AI, emerging tech touches every aspect of society, and for the jobs of the future, it's also not just AI engineers who need to know about AI. Policymakers do, and chemists, product managers, consultants, fashion designers, all at this point need substantial knowledge in AI. So we need to make sure that all students are educated in the technologies that are going to shape their lives. And it's on us to change our assumptions and the ways that we think, to make sure that we're developing our curriculum and pedagogy in a way that emerging technology education is not just available, but truly accessible to all students. Third, we need to move beyond awareness-focused programming and focus on the knowledge and skills students will need to be equipped for the jobs of the future. For most emerging technologies, I often find that we're so afraid of fulfilling the stereotype that these subjects are hard and therefore putting students off from them forever, that we oversimplify them. We make them so fun and easy and light and often just stay at the surface level. But I'm here to say that we're doing a complete disservice to students by doing this. We're doing a disservice to their future job prospects and to their livelihood, as well as to society as a whole. I've witnessed far too many university students who've been so excited by a STEM topic that they took a 1-hour workshop on in high school, and then they go to college to take their first course on the topic, and guess what? Many of them fail. We excite them, but we don't prepare them. And I don't see that as success at all. These are difficult subjects. I'm not denying that. And we need to accept that emerging technologies are complex and hard. But that doesn't mean we should oversimplify or make them easier to the point where students don't learn anything. One of the best things about teaching students emerging technologies that I've found isn't just the durable skills, although I love that, but it's every single one of our students walks away believing that they can do hard things. They believe that they can take a class in an area that they know nothing about or that they've heard is only for geniuses before and find that they can actually succeed in them. That mentality shift is worth everything alone. Yet, I see a lot of curriculum that treats students and teachers like they can't possibly grasp these subjects. When we first started developing out our 4-week professional development in AI for high school educators, I had a few requirements. Again, I wanted to ensure there were no prerequisites. I wanted to make sure it was open to teachers, not just in computer science, but in the humanities and the social sciences, as well as the other hard sciences. And I wanted to make sure that we were teaching students, or teaching educators, real industry and defense-aligned skills, like Python programming, like scikit-learn, how to build traditional machine learning models and deep learning models so that way they could feel confident to bring this back to their students. And what we found when I met with a leading AI expert who said that I was setting these teachers up for failure, that they couldn't possibly do it. And while this person had far more credentials than I did, I said, no, we have to trust and we have to believe that our teachers could learn. And while the first 2 weeks, our teachers really didn't like me and said they felt like they were drinking from a fire hose. They all exceeded our expectations and were able to build these models and do so many other things at the end of our program. So we need to start having some real conversations about what does adequate curriculum look like, because we can no longer accept the status quo. It's no longer enough to get a job by being able to define what AI is or vaguely explain the basics of quantum mechanics. So why are we only teaching students the basics if it's not enough for them to get a call with a recruiter, let alone a job or an internship? We need to hold ourselves to a higher standard and make sure students and educators are able to go beyond awareness and develop employable, durable skills in programming and logic and mathematics and engineering. So whether they go to the workforce or go to college, they're set up for success. And last but not least, we need to start scaling practices and programs that actually work instead of developing the same programs with a different logo on it. We need to ask ourselves, are we focused on our organization becoming the leader, or are students becoming the next generation of leaders? We need to stop taking other people's models and recreating the wheel and instead work together and scaffold the ideas and build off of them. For emerging technologies, there's so much that needs to get done. There's enough pie for everyone. But like I said, these subjects are hard, and if PhDs even find it hard, how hard do you think it is to design curriculum for 10-year-olds? Yet we have a duty to our students to do just this. Because of how challenging this space is, I believe strategic collaboration will be critical for us to succeed, requiring all of us to work together to do what each of us can do best and build off of each other's work to ensure that we're keeping up with the ever-changing technological landscape and providing the most comprehensive pathways to meet the ever-changing industrial, political, defense, and global challenges we face. The Defense STEM, Technology, Engineering, Mathematics Education Consortium, also known as DSEC, which the coding school is fortunate to join this last year, is doing just this. The consortium is composed of over 25 regional and national partners who provide STEM education across the country in collaboration with each other and with the DoD. It's these kind of cross-sector and collaborations that make sure we're augmenting efforts rather than duplicating efforts, that will build the robust talent pathways that are needed for these unprecedented times. Just to conclude, a few years ago, one of my friends asked me why I didn't become an investor with my prediction of the AI boom and with the rise of quantum computing. I could be making so much money, she said, rather than taking these predictions and creating an education nonprofit out of it. And I agreed with her. I could be making a lot more money doing basically anything but education. But I disagreed with her when she said I wasn't an investor. I am. We all are. We're investors in our children's future. But I do believe we could all learn to be a little bit more like traditional investors who make financial decisions based on predictions they have about the future, things that are not going to happen for 5 or 10 years or even a longer tailwind for that payout. So I'll leave you with this. We didn't get it right with computer science or AI education, but we have a real chance to get it right with emerging technologies. This is the beginning of the AI revolution, not the end, and many other technological revolutions haven't even started. We have an opportunity to get it right from here forward. So let's start shaping the future of tech to prepare students not for the technologies of today, but the technologies of tomorrow. Let's start making some big bets together. Thank you.